they have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You need to know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on
GameTime decisions right here on SportsGrid on a Tuesday night where I think a little bit of everybody out there can look around at today's NFL news cycle and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be just fine. Because it turns out you could be the worst person at your job. Historically awful. Noticeably horrendous for months. And the worst case scenario is your best buddy will tell people we're going to make a change, but we're not going to fire the guy. Just a demotion. Shout out Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni. Unbelievable. And that is how we begin Game Time Decisions on this Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh with you live from the Decisions Desk, where we will talk a little bit, just a little bit, about the Philadelphia Eagles' move off of Patullo as their offensive coordinator. But, of course, the big story in the National Football League today, Mike Tomlin stepping down as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers after nearly 2 decades with this organization. He has opted to likely take a year off, potentially more than that. We very well could have waved goodbye to Mike Tomlin in the NFL last night. There's a lot of early suggestions that Mike Tomlin will look towards a TV career, and I think that is one that you would expect him to flourish in and be able to have as long, if not a longer career in than he had in Pittsburgh. I have to acknowledge, though, last week a little bit, we have talked about the prediction market of whether or which coaches would be out before September. And the moves on Mike Tomlin were noteworthy. And those moves were obviously well-informed. Tomlin not fired. Who knows if perhaps behind the scenes they kind of, wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, listen, we don't want to fire you. And the decision was made together in Pittsburgh, but they allowed Tomlin to save that face ultimately by stepping away. Now, Pittsburgh does retain Tomlin's coaching rights, so if he comes back, they will kind of be a part of those conversations. It'll be very interesting to see how that all ultimately plays out here. But again, the same way we're accustomed to saying, hey, the market is moving, what's the full story with spreads and totals? It happened in the prediction markets for Mike Tomlin no longer being the Steelers' head coach. And you can cash those yes bets on Mike Tomlin being out. Where Pittsburgh turns is a fascinating question, because the Steelers pride themselves, I believe, on how little turnover they have had within their head coaching slot. You imagine they'd love to get young. I don't think John Harbaugh speaks to them in any capacity. I'm not sure Brian Flores is young enough for the job. I mean, he is within a 10-year age range of Tomlin. They may be looking for a sub-40-year-old head coach, which was the ages when they had made those hires of Tomlin, Cowher, and Knoll. As we spoke yesterday here on Game Time Decisions with Mike Blewett about this situation, is this Pittsburgh job one of the best jobs? I do not think it is a great job in terms of immediate upside. I think it is a very tempting job, though, because you would expect to have more security relative to the rest of these openings. I think whomever Pittsburgh hires is expected to be there for at least 4 seasons, maybe 5, regardless of results. It is a Steeler team that I think projects to be very patient with whoever they ultimately land on in this cycle, and that could be more tempting than a young, exciting quarterback or even a high upside offense. You think about Tennessee, you think about New York, you think about Atlanta. That Steelers job, with their pedigree, with just the status of it all, could be right near the top of the rest of these jobs. We'll again talk more about this throughout our show tonight, but I'm sure many of you looking to get involved with this slate, and rightfully so. It's a really good one. The NBA board tonight, a few options. It's a Tuesday, King of the Court Tuesday. We do not know if Luka Doncic will be playing for the Lakers. Hawks check in Los Angeles as road favorites. Certainly suggests the Lakers won't be full go tonight. LeBron James on a back-to-back. You may not expect him. The Lakers, though, now on a little bit of a losing streak here. That can help shape things a little bit within this Western Conference. The big battle tonight, though, in the West, Thunder, Spurs, Part 4. The San Antonio Spurs, to some degree, responsible for rattling the cage of this unstoppable Oklahoma City team, who looked like they were going to go on and a historic run, winning 24 of their first 25 games, have lost all 3 meetings against the Spurs this season. Think about this. Against the rest of the NBA, Oklahoma City is 33-4. They are 0-3 against San Antonio and Victor Wembanyama. I think tonight's game profiles as a big one, and I am involved in this game. I am sure many of you will be as well. Though, how is the college basketball board not going to be speaking to most? It is a full slate loaded with great games and great opportunities. The 7 o'clock window is jammed up. You've got Michigan State, Indiana, double ranked in the ACC with Louisville and Virginia. Tennessee is at home against Texas A&M. Late night in the SEC. Perhaps upset alerts could be live for top 20 teams in Alabama and Florida as they're laying single digits on the road. You've got Kansas. Look at this. Kansas in what I think the game people are most excited about, right? Sportsbooks offering up odds boosts directly for this game. A home underdog in Allen Fieldhouse. You do not see that for the Kansas Jayhawks We'll see what Darren Peterson has for one of the best teams in college basketball in the Iowa State Cyclones. I played, let me do the quick tally here, 6 games on the college basketball board. 5 of them ranked. 1 non-ranked game actually caught my attention, so we will get to that as well. It's also, and we're accustomed to this, on a Tuesday, really loaded up from an NHL's perspective. You've got the Penguins and the Lightning early. A little bit later tonight, you'll see the Ducks and the Stars. We will go through this slate with George Kurtz. We will also go through the NFL divisional round spreads. Of course, some of these have been out for a little bit now as these matchups have been locked in. There's been some early movement within these numbers that we certainly will be dissecting with the help from Brady Cannon. The matchup between Buffalo and Denver, already seeing a move, one that will look a little bit familiar, I think, with last week's game between Buffalo and Jacksonville. We'll speak to Brady Cannon as well. The start of the PGA Tour comes to us this Thursday. It is great to get golf, I think, back in the lives of everyone. I know a lot of people are really excited for this golf season, so we will talk to Brady about that as well. But up next, we go to the NBA slate. Oklahoma City and San Antonio, where the value is in Part 4. Can OKC tonight get a needed victory against the San Antonio Spurs? We will discuss here on Game Time Decisions.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we lock in now to your NBA slate to start tonight as we've got part 4 of the matchup between Oklahoma City and the San Antonio Spurs. And the tale of the tape here is not insignificant because I believe each one of these games held a level of importance. The first meeting between these teams came to us in the NBA Cup semifinal. At the time, the Thunder were on a massive win streak, and we're shifting to minus money to break the 73-win record held by the Golden State Warriors. A 2-point nail-biter in which was Wemby's first game back from injury, where he scored 22 points in 21 minutes and was a plus 21, not only was jarring to OKC, but it was another one of those reminders of just who the heck Victor Wembanyama is and will be in this league. When these teams met again, it was 2 days before their Christmas meeting, which I didn't really like. I think that's very sloppy booking by the NBA. You could maybe argue it worked in their favor, as once again, Oklahoma City San Antonio took it to Oklahoma City. However, a trend that has been going on for OKC reared its ugly head again, which is the Thunder on the second leg of a back-to-back. They just don't show up with the same level of fight. It's been going on throughout this NBA season. So, with now the cup loss, right, and a thrashing the 2 days before Christmas, the Thunder were expected to make a statement. As a 10.5-point favorite, they got blasted. A 15-point loss on their home floor, the first time losing back-to-back games on the year. And all of a sudden, a team who had started 24-1 was 26-5. Since then, we've seen OKC still show a bit of vulnerability. They've lost a double-up, one at Phoenix, and a thrashing on the hands somehow of Charlotte. And they've played some close games. An overtime battle against Utah at home, a huge comeback victory, only winning by 1 against Memphis. But I have to wonder if, to a degree, OKC is waiting for this matchup. Because a win tonight, you can't just throw your hands up and say, regular season, OKC's not trying. You can't get your teeth kicked in through 3 matchups, be the defending champions and favorite to repeat, and no show a game like this on your home floor. When we look at the NBA outright market, Oklahoma City is still, yes, your favorite. Jokic is being given a ton of respect when you look at the Nuggets price. But I think San Antonio, with a win tonight, at 8-1 right now, could drop as far as 5-1. If you look at the NBA Western Conference standings, it's the Spurs who are holding the 2 seed. And that would, of course, give them home court versus anybody who isn't Oklahoma City. And you now will have a narrative you can't escape that they have the Thunder's number. I don't think that happens, though. I think the Thunder step up and make a statement tonight. And I think they do it on both sides of the basketball. I think you will see offensively Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in his bag early and often. He knows the importance of setting the tone. But defensively is really where this Thunder group has to rely on, I think, in order to make this a game in which they dominate. Giving up 111 in the first meeting, okay, fine. 130 at 117 in the prior 2. This is Spurs offense that over the last 5 or so games has not looked incredible. In their last 4, they've not cracked 110. But I don't want to complicate this. I want to be able to get to the window through multiple avenues. I laid 8.5 with OKC. It's 2 points lower than that Christmas meeting. It's at home. How many games this year have the Thunder been at home not laying double digits? Less than 5. So this is a spot tonight where I think OKC, you have to even realize in the close series that the Thunder played in the postseason against the Nuggets and the Pacers, there were still, brain-beating blowouts available. I think we could be in line for that tonight with Oklahoma City. I think they step up and make a statement here. One other thing just for everybody to track with on this NBA slate, okay? We're going to get to the college hoops in just a moment. The King of the Court promo is in a very interesting spot tonight because the Nuggets are playing, but Jokic is not out there, of course. The Lakers are playing. Luka might not be out there. So now, if you remove two guys who have pregame numbers in the 50s, it looks like it could be open season. Shea would be the highest PRA on the slate at 43, roughly. Jalen Johnson not too far behind. So those are areas in which we may see, a lot of the bets flood. Alperen Şengün, who made his return to Houston in the most recent game, struggled, but we know he can stuff a stat sheet as well. I've not yet placed a king of the court bet. I will say, if you are only in it to win it, because I think sometimes people want to kind of reach for the stars and just get a huge one, there could be a ton of value in just sitting and waiting and seeing if Luka plays or not, knowing what that target number is entering, into the 10:30 window. And if he's out, right, let's say he's out, LeBron plays. Okay, boom, there could be some value there. Let's say they're both out. Is it just play Jalen Johnson then, right? Do you go to the Golden State Warriors potentially, who will not have tipped off yet? You can have some outs. All things that you can consider tonight for the king of the court. Let's put your college basketball bets on the board after the break on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, live right here on SportsGrid. It is Game Time Decisions. I want to check through our best bet options tonight. Just make sure I've got all the start times in order. We do, so we'll be set there. We'll go through them before everything tips off. Some college basketball featured. There's also some NHL love tonight, which is good. George Kurt's going to help us out with the ice slate here on this Tuesday in just a little bit. But I want to run through the college basketball card. I really like the college card tonight. I think there's a lot of value out there. So let's get after it here. For me, it starts with Louisville, Virginia And this looks like one where I'm going to just try and get updated numbers for all of these here. I may not have the best of the number. That 154.5 you're seeing on the total is where I bet it to the over. I think we're a little bit lighter than that right now at maybe 153.5. Not as much as I thought. I thought there was some 152.5 out there, but there might be. Let's double check that. DK maybe has a 152, but a 153.5 in the market. I actually really like this over. Virginia is it's not Bennett's Virginia. It's a different group. Their offense grades out better than their defense from an efficiency perspective, and they have shown an ability to score against good basketball teams. And Louisville is that. I know that the Cardinal are missing Mikal Brown, but they have played plenty of basketball without him. And at home, I think they are really due for an offensive explosion. I think it is super on the board tonight. Louisville puts up 90. And you might say, well, why aren't you laying it? Why aren't you just going for their team total? I don't want to leave Virginia out of it. Not with what I've seen from Virginia. Not when I look at a game like they played, I know it was earlier season against Texas, where they almost scored 90 in their own right. So not when they hang 84 on Cal. I think Virginia is more than ready to come along for this ride. I think a Louisville team who's now scored under 80 points in 3 straight games, we could see really light it up here against Virginia. I like this over. I bet it at 154.5. You can get better anywhere right now. You get better than that. Good by me. I really like Louisville, Virginia. Sides for me, rest of the night. We'll stick in the ACC. I like Boston College plus the 15.5. BC has some egregious losses on their resume. Central Connecticut, Davidson, Tulane, UMass. It's ugly. Starting to get a little bit better, though, here in ACC play, covering lines. And that's what we're looking from Boston College tonight. Clemson, I think a little bit overvalued because they blew out Notre Dame on the road. But that's a great chance then to sell high on a Clemson team that prior to that, every game was within 5 points. SMU 4, Pitt 5, Syracuse 3, Cincinnati 3. How about Mercer? They only beat by 7. This is a team who's lost to Georgetown already this year. I just think that, I know it's not super likely that Clemson loses this game, but look at when they played West Virginia, a slow defensive team like BC. I think that's what this is tonight, a game that's within single digits here. I'll take the points with Boston College. I'm betting dogs tonight, okay, for the most part. I'll take the 10.5 with Texas A&M. Texas A&M's pace should make Tennessee uncomfortable. I think this Vols team made a mistake early season leaning into Jacoby Gillespie as much as they have. I think he is an overstated player, quite frankly, for the college game, and it's not given Nate immense time to grow into the role as the premier player on this roster. So I don't think they offer up a super high offensive ceiling. They're supposed to be scoring 85, 90 in this game. I challenge that, but with A&M's pace, they're always live to be into that 80 window like they were at Auburn, home against Oklahoma. We've seen A&M put up some good results early on here within the SEC. I think they have the chance to put up another one, at least be competitive with the Vols on the road, catching double digits. The big one, mentioned it. It's Kansas, it's Iowa State. I love Kansas plus 3.5. This is a Jayhawks spot as they are at home as a dog. I know Iowa State is very good. I know they blew out Purdue on the road. This is a beatable Iowa State team. It is. And Kansas, I think defensively, has found things while they waited for Darren Peterson to get back. And I think Peterson, who is one of the most gifted scorers college basketball's had in some time, I think is due for an electric game. He can put up 30 in this spot. Laying 4.5 with Alabama on the road. Bama is going to force Miss State to score 90 in order to cover that game. I don't think they do. Simple as that. Bama at minus 4.5 is the right side. And I'll take 4.5 with Notre Dame against Miami. We mentioned selling high. Clemson will buy low on ND at home against the Canes. That's your college basketball card tonight. We'll be right back. It's Game Time Decisions.
it's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live on this Tuesday night. We've set the card up for you here. Hoops heavy, no doubt. We'll talk some ice after this segment with George Kurtz. Get some good picks from him. But I know a lot of people are focused on the NFL right now, rightfully so. A lot of news flying. Mike Tomlin steps down. Eagles fire Kevin Patullo. We've got 9 head coach openings right now in the National Football League, which is a ton. Not all of those are going to be, filled right away, right? But what you also have now, 100 days away, is the NFL draft. And I thought we'd talk a little early NFL draft predictions 100 days out in today's Kevin 7. Some of these I know you're going to scream at the TV. Obvious. That's okay. It's early. We talk about what's out there right now. And it starts with an obvious one. Fernando Mendoza is going to go first overall. And rightfully so. I don't know if I flatly ever have been this in on a quarterback prospect as I am on Fernando Mendoza. I think he is can't miss. I think he will, assuming the Raiders don't trade that pick, break their playoff victory drought, which is over 2 decades long right now. Everything that he does at Indiana checks the box. There's a level of athleticism necessary to play the position, I think, in 2026. But I have always been drawn to, and everyone should be, throwing more touchdowns and incompletions is an incredible thing to do. And he is doing it against good defenses in Alabama and Oregon. In both games, these are dominant efforts. And he is not loaded right now. People keep making the 2019 LSU comparisons, and I don't want to get lost in that conversation. But there's no Jamar Chase, no Justin Jefferson. Surratt likely goes round 1, but that's not the way this Indiana team's being discussed. They are a very good football team, but they are led by the best player in college football in Fernando Mendoza, who's only getting better. You are watching in-season development. He is hitting high highs. He makes big throws, clutch throws, easy throws, hard throws, smart throws. He is the guy. He is not only going first overall because the quarterback class is weak. I think he goes first overall in a strong quarterback class. I'm all in on Fernando Mendoza. He is going to be the first pick. I do think, though, Dante Moore will declare for this year's NFL draft. It's one of the big questions right now, and I believe Moore will declare because it's the right decision. Everybody keeps saying, oh, Moore has things to work on. Sure, but going back and working on them may not work. Dante Moore right now has the ability to go as high as second overall in this upcoming draft and is a guaranteed first-round pick if he leaves Eugene. That same guarantee won't be there. He'll have to play to a certain level to keep the buzz, but be fighting what projects to be a much deeper class. Arch Manning, C.J. Carr, Lenoris Sellers. And those are guys that we just know. We know guys emerge as well throughout a season. Dante Moore's representation should be sending him to the NFL draft, not vice versa. And because I think that's obvious, I think that's what happens. Prediction number 3, Jeremiah Love will be a top 10 pick. We often wonder about running backs going super early in drafts, but last year we saw Ashton Genty go inside the top 10, and I think Jeremiah Love will keep that trend going. Because Jeremiah Love, while he did not have the prolific year that Ashton Genty had, I think he looked better on tape. I think Jeremiah Love, again, most unbiased man history of sports media, was not a real Heisman candidate through the numbers. It was through the talent. Like, he never really had a great chance to win the award. He didn't have all of these huge, gaudy numbers. But he's just that good when you watch him. And I think he could go as early as 7 to Washington, trying to pair him with Jaden Daniels. I think the Saints are super live to take him at 8, with Tyler Shuck likely being the quarterback for New Orleans. Kellen Moore may see some Saquon Barkley in Jeremiah Love. And there are a number of mock drafts that suggest you could see the Chiefs at 9 take Jeremiah Love and actually get Patrick Mahomes, a star running back, in the room. I think that you will see Jeremiah Love be a top 10 pick come April. Now we get to some team-based predictions. I think the Rams will draft quarterback in round 1. They have 2 picks inside the first round to draft a quarterback. The first one is at 13. We do not know where the other will be. I'm sure many of you think it'll be at pick, 30, 31, 32 for Los Angeles. And maybe that's exactly where it will be. But due to the nature of this class, I think they'll have an option to draft quarterback with the 13th pick or, one of those bottom 6 or so draft choices that they're going to have of their own. Trinidad Chambliss could be exciting to give Sean McVay some time to work and let him develop for however long Matthew Stafford wants to play. But I don't think that projects to be forever. And I think if you are McVay, you don't want to have to throw a young quarterback into the fire right away. Learning from Stafford, learning the offense, rightfully so. Aaron Rodgers, where maybe have seen him play his last football. Well, the first 3 years, we didn't even get to watch him play football, because he sat behind Brett Favre. And we still just have a lot more examples of sitting a quarterback working than not. So I think for the Rams, an opportunity here to be picking inside the top 15 is one they take to draft quarterback. The next one here, I'm very curious how this will land for many of you. Actually, it'll be the one after that. Actually, it'll probably be our last one. I don't want to spoil it just yet. I think the Eagles, prediction 5, will draft offense with their first pick. Maybe this is obvious to some people, but the more you look at it for the Philadelphia Eagles, what projects to be on the board, they will either look to draft an offensive lineman, and this is something they do. They like succession plans in place to figure out what's going to happen when Lane Johnson retires. So they may look for a tackle, and they might need one because Lane Johnson couldn't stay on the field a ton this year. So that player could very well play. Maybe they kick inside for the early portion of their career. Or they're going to look for a game-changing talent. Kenyon Sadiq, within the last 10 minutes, announced he's going to go into the NFL draft. The Eagles might have to replace Dallas Goedert this offseason. There is the potential for this team to look at the wide receiver room, where there could be, between 4 and 6 guys from that class going inside round number 1 as A.J. Brown's departure feels inevitable. I don't know exactly where the Eagles will go, but I feel very confident it will be on the offensive side. Different story in Dallas. They have 2 first-round picks, 2 inside the top 20. Both will be on the defensive side of the football. I think Dallas is actually going to have themselves a very easy draft night. They are so good at taking the best player on the board, and this could be a very strong defensive class here. The only worry for Dallas is, one of these high-level offensive guys falls. Like, if by chance I'm wrong and Jeremiah Love falls to 12, they probably won't be able to help themselves. And I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but for Dallas, you should feel confident in your offense. Dak, Lamb, Pickens if he's back, Shoddy calling plays, and load up the defense with not one, but 2 top 20 picks. Last one here. Again, I had a conversation with our production team, and they're like, Kev, that's obvious. This isn't that good. And I'm like, I agree with you. We are outsiders right now. Prediction 7. The Giants are not drafting wide receiver at the 5th pick. This is insane. I do not, for the life of me, understand what is the most often mocked decision by the Giants in taking either Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, especially Carnell Tate. He's flatly not the best wide receiver in this class. I just do not see it. The New York Giants have a secondary that needs a lot, an offensive line that needs a lot. They have a franchise wide receiver already in Malik Neighbors. They believe a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart and a franchise running back in Cam Scadaboo. Get in protection. There's going to be great offense. You might get your pick of the litter as far as offensive linemen go at 5th overall. I think the idea that the Giants are drafting Carnell Tate at 5 is chaotic. I do not believe the New York Giants will be taking a wide receiver at 5th overall. Titans at 4, that is a different story. That is some early draft predictions. Let's talk some NHL slate on a Tuesday next.
It's going to open up Pandora's box, but I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope, and I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not gonna happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, let's make it happen. Game time decisions. We're joined by our guy, George Kurtz. You can catch him across the SportsGrid Network talking all things, not just NHL, football as well. And, George, I promised the people, of course, picks on the NHL slate, but I'd like to start actually in the NFL. We just did some early draft predictions here on the show. And you know the Dallas Cowboys well. They have 2 picks inside the top 20. I think they will use both on defense. I think that will be the right decision for Dallas. Would you expect the same from the Cowboys as we sit here in January?
Yeah, the Cowboys are generally a reactionary bunch. And what I mean by that is, we have a bad offense. Let's go fix the offense through a draft. We have a bad defense. Let's go fix the defense through a draft. They're not a BPA team. Now, I probably am a BPA guy. It's best player available here. I do believe in that. But it would be an upset. I mean, Kevin, who would have to drop for the Cowboys to take, a wide receiver or a running back? A running back's probably highly unlikely. They're not taking a quarterback. They're not taking a tight end. So I guess it would have to be a wide receiver if they don't sign Pickens. I mean, if you're telling me Pickens isn't going to be with Dallas, that they're not going to franchise him, okay, maybe, but I don't believe that. I think they franchise Pickens, and I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Dallas doesn't take 2 defensive players in the first round. Could be any position other than defensive tackle.
Yeah, the thing with Dallas, I do think if Jeremiah Love falls out of the top 10, they'll take a look. I just don't think that's going to happen. Can I ask you this quickly, George? Just because, of course, you do great work on FST, and I know this might be a tough, a little on the spot. But if I told you Jeremiah Love ends up in Dallas, am I crazy to think he could end up being that? We're talking fantasy football, I know, but that sounds like someone who might go inside a 12-man draft. That might be a first-round pick.
You're not crazy. Think about how well Javonte Williams did for the Cowboys this year, fantasy and in reality. Yeah. A lot of touchdowns there. Cowboys are a passing team. No one's going to be worried about stopping Jeremiah Love in the backfield. And the Cowboys' offensive line may not be great, but it is good. I don't know if he would make the first round. He's done a 12-team league, but he'd be right around the turn. So he's talking between the 10 and 15 range here. Yes, he'd be extremely valuable. Although, like you, I don't think Dallas is going to go down that road as far as taking a running back in the first round. I guess if he slipped to 20, that'd be a different conversation. But at 12, I think they're taking the best defensive player they can find.
So let's get over to the ice tonight, George. It's an interesting slate here, no doubt about it. I'll start in Pittsburgh. I think people are always interested in betting the Penguins. Of course, Sid the Kid still doing the thing. They are home dogs against the Lightning. Is this one of the games making your card tonight?
One thing we have to realize tonight, it's an unusual Tuesday night in that we had a truckload of Monday night games. So we have a lot of teams playing back-to-back nights, and that includes the Tampa Bay Lightning. I guess if you want to bet Pittsburgh, the good news is no Braden Point tonight. We saw he had that injury last night, which looked kind of bad, although like John Cooper may have downplayed it a little bit. It may not be as bad as we thought. That'd be the good news. The bad news is Vasilevsky didn't play last night. He's playing tonight. So the number one goaltender will be in there. When it comes to back-to-backs, I like the team that's fresh. I just think they're going to play better. No Braden Point. I do like the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. Normally I wouldn't. If Tampa didn't play last night, I'd be all over Tampa Bay tonight. But coming up the back-to-back, no Braden Point, I'm going Pittsburgh in a lower scoring game.
Fair enough, George. You mentioned a back-to-back. That may be the only thing that could slow down Connor McDavid. This is something that I feel, I at least in my brain, the McDavid, I'm scoring multiple points every game turn happened just about exactly one of the first times we had you on to talk hockey, because he got off to a slower start from the goals end of it, and he's just been out of his mind. I mean, he's second in goals, obviously first in assists. He's knocking on the door for the points overall lead. McKinnon holding on by a string. I mean, is there any reason to expect anything other than, Connor McDavid tonight to put up multiple points?
No, I have nothing to add there. Everything you said is true. McDavid, when you go back to fantasy, McDavid wasn't the number one pick this year in fantasy because he was okay last year, but not McDavid. It's like he's angry about all of that. He got to a slow October, and he's just hit the foot to the gas. Let's go. And he's blowing everybody's doors off right now. And the Oilers seem to be doing what they do every year. Slow start October, half of November. As soon as American Thanksgiving comes, here we go. We're playing Oiler hockey. It doesn't matter who's in goal now, right? They acquired Jarry, but he's been hurt for about a month, so it just doesn't matter anymore. I'm on Edmonton tonight. There's so many ways you want to go with it. You want to play Doug, at least 2 points McDavid, go for it. You want to play for an anytime goal, you're not really getting the price. They really need to go for 2 goals here. I always like taking Leon Draisaitl. He's my anytime goal scorer there because when McDavid's playing well, obviously Draisaitl is. Maybe you want to go Zach Hyman. We can go to secondary players here. Hyman, Nugent Hopkins. That might be a better way to attack the Edmonton Oilers.
What about late night? Are you interested in a game that's going to be on, for most people, what would, be the kind of the prime time spot with the Ducks and the Stars here? Dallas, a slight road favorite.
Now, Dallas, another team, played last night. All right, Ottinger played last night in net, so you'll get Casey DeSmith tonight. Casey DeSmith's a pretty good goaltender, so I'm not as worried about the downgrade in goal there as I might be there. I want to take Dallas. All right, I haven't done it yet. I do want to see if Troy Terry, one of the better wingers for the Anaheim Ducks, if he plays tonight. I think he's got an upper body injury. He missed the last game. If he's out tonight, then no doubt I'll take the Stars here. We'll go with Casey DeSmith and the Dallas Stars. But if he's in there, I might hesitate a little bit or just lower the bet down a little bit. Be a better game there. But it's hard not to like the Dallas Stars, who I think outside of the Colorado Avalanche are the second best team in the NHL.
What about your Isles tonight? They're up north and west, right over there in Winnipeg. Is Winnipeg out west? I think it is.
It is Manitoba. It's cold. All right, that's all you need to know about Winnipeg. Cold. I get the Islanders wrong a lot. Whenever I bet on them, they lose. Whenever I bet against them, they win. And I'm betting on them tonight. They're a better team. That Winnipeg is that team, Kevin. That what the hell happened to you this year? I mean, they made some changes, but Nikolai Eller shouldn't have made that big a difference, right? No way. They just haven't played that well at all this season. But I'm on the Islanders tonight. They've been impressive again. You lost to Nashville, a place they never win in last Thursday, but you lost in overtime. You got a point. Minnesota, who might be a top 5 NHL team, you go there, you beat them in overtime on Saturday. Winnipeg's not that good this year. They should take care of business tonight. Sorokin's in net. I like the Islanders tonight. I lean towards the under as well, though I have not played that yet. I've got an hour plus to make up my mind.
Is Matt Schaefer as good as my buddies are texting me?
He's made the Islanders fun again, Kevin. I'm an Islander fan, but watching them was like watching paint dry. He's made them watchable and fun again. The scary part is, Kevin, my oldest daughter is older than Matt Schaefer. She's 19. I can't believe she's older than an NHL player. Scary.
That's fantastic. Kurtz, you're the best. We'll come back, get your best bets here before the 7 o'clock window tips off on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Nanji, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, back here on SportsGrid. Let's I want to talk Anthony Davis because we just got an update within the last 5 minutes that I think is relevant to the situation. I want to put best bets on the board for everybody here tonight. All right, so in the back, No surprise, AJ on the college basketball board. He likes Minnesota money line tonight and a little Big Ten battle as they are home against Wisconsin. You could maybe look around, do a little bit better than even money, but that is not a bad look. I'll go through my 7 o'clock college hoops card in just a moment. All right, we will get to that. But the ice tonight comes to us from both Sam and Chris. Sam's got a Caps team total over on his card. That's 3.5 at a plus price. Washington tonight is at home against the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see if Ovi can find the back of the net. And then Chris with a kind of player performance parlay here. Jake Gunsel. It's about as good as it's going to get, all right? To record a point and the Lightning money line. You know what? He's not watching. Rooting against it. One, making me say that name on him, all right? And let's just call it what it is. I mean, a hockey parlay plus 119. Let's just come on. Just come on. You know what I mean? For real. Like, I can't root that in. I can't root that in. Like, when he gave out the Canadians money line, that was fun. That was a good time. Plus 119. Unbelievable. Give me the Thunder. We're going to lay 8 in the hook tonight. Spurs part 4. Best rivalry in the NBA right now? Question mark. People are asking. OKC has to step up in this game. They just absolutely must. And I think they will. College basketball tonight. A lot of sides and a total involved in the ACC quite heavily. Give me Louisville, Virginia over the 154.5. Give me Notre Dame plus 4.5. Give me Boston College plus 15.5. And then another 7 o'clock tip in the SEC. I'll take the Texas A&M Aggies catching 10 in a hook at Tennessee as we look to get started right here on this college basketball board. Now, up next, we're going to talk to Coach James Young, which is always great, and I'm very excited to do just that. We'll go through the college, we'll go through the NBA. But what I want to try and do is just clean up some of the Anthony Davis stuff. That way we don't have to spend too much time explaining it to everybody when JY gets in, and we can just kind of attack this situation. So a couple of hours ago, Shams Charania tweets out that Anthony Davis is going to have surgery on his hand and will be missing months. He then follows that report up to let everybody know the Mavs are having trade talks with a number of interested teams, and if he is moved to a playoff contender, he could very well be allowed to get himself ready for when the postseason begins. I didn't fully understand that development, though, because if you're going to trade for Anthony Davis, why are you letting him go have surgery, not on your watch, when you're going to expect him to be this very helpful piece for a postseason run, right? It also now seemingly changes the type of team that would be trading for Anthony Davis. Like the Atlanta Hawks have been heavily rumored. Respectfully, if you're Atlanta, you're going to trade for AD, get maybe no regular season basketball out of him, and hope he's there to get you out of the play-in? That doesn't make... Yeah? I guess. I don't know. It feels like now we're talking about Detroit, New York, Boston, Denver, Minnesota. Like that it reads like that to me. But then Shams comes over the top 5 minutes ago. No surgery. Second opinion. AD is just going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks. What? Like, first of all, this is why Dallas was supposed to shut Anthony Davis down the first go-around and just trade him months ago once they fired Nico Harrison, because he was always going to get hurt again, because unfortunately Anthony Davis is always hurt. I mean, it's like the Three Stooges. It's not like, oh, he's got a bad ankle. Like, it's like, oh, he needs hand surgery. Like, it's always something different. And it's what it is. But now, the latest report is that Anthony Davis will likely be traded to a team who's attempting to contend for a title. Well, who in the world is that? See if Coach James Young has some answers after the break on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Tuesday night. And let me say this right off the bat. Our next guest, I occasionally give him a hard time because I love him and I want to see him more. And I got to tell you, my man is stepping up and delivering in a major way. That is, of course, Coach James Young, host of both pro and college basketball today here on the network. JY, great to see you. Great night of basketball.
Great night of basketball. Some really good games in college and in the pros. And obviously we'll talk about the AD news and all that other stuff. But, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So I'm going to stop talking and let you go.
So, JY, I love whenever we get ranked versus ranked in the college game. However, I have a pretty simple rule. If a New Jersey team is involved, I guess, or if the game is in New Jersey, probably not going to break the game down because I can't get in the mix. But I know you love your Big East hoops, and I know you have been following this Seton Hall rise as they are now the 25th team in the country, according to the AP poll. Matched up, though, with UConn. Never an easy out, a 16-1 team. What do you expect in this game?
Slow. Kevin, here's the thing that people need to realize. Do people know that Seton Hall has beaten UConn, I think, the last 3 years at the Rock? So it's going to be rocking. Now, one of those times UConn was number one. If you remember, Don McLean got hurt, and they pulled away in the second half. So how do I attack this game? I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to go Seton Hall team total under 62.5 points. Here's why. 2 out of 4 games, they have gone under this. They're bottom 100 in effective field goal percentage offense. They cannot score. They like to walk the ball off the floor. UConn, 4 out of 6 teams held under. They're top 10 in defensive efficiency, 3.2-point percentage defense. Neither team plays fast. Seton Hall will play this game really close to the vest and keep it close as long as possible, which means they can't score. My best bet of the night, Seton Hall team total under 62.5. And I wouldn't be surprised if they also covered the game as well.
All right, going to be really fun to watch that one play out between two of the better teams in the Big East early season. JY, though, sometimes you and I talk rock fights. Seton Hall UConn might look like a track meet compared to Houston, West Virginia. 127.5 is the total in this basketball game. What are you looking for here in this Big 12 battle?
You know, it's interesting because we've been waiting for Houston to kind of start to crank up that D. Texas Tech, then 55 points against Baylor. Kevin, it's here. They're starting to defend. I'm taking team total under 58.5 for West Virginia. Houston is top 40, basically every defensive metric you can look on KenPom. West Virginia and Houston, both bottom 60 in pace of play. So even if Houston get steals or blocks, which they get a ton of them, they don't run the ball up. They walk the ball up and they milk the clock, and they got someone in Kingston Flemings who can create late in the shot clock. They're getting back to basics, and that's their defense. They'll hold West Virginia under 58.5 points tonight.
I noticed the same thing in terms of just the Houston defensive stuff. Like, they are starting to find their level. This was around a similar time last year when I started to jump in on all those Houston futures just to watch them destroy the Duke futures and then blow the game against Florida. My gosh, my stomach hurts now. Gosh, that was tough. I'll tell you this, man. JY and I had fun, though. We really did. That Duke-Houston night, I didn't know I was rooting on the ultimate demise, but, man, that memory will last. The thing about that Duke team, of course, led by superstar freshmen, it is ridiculous to look back and think about Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel on the same team, what they are right now, and the fact that they didn't win that title. We have, of course, Cooper Flagg's current team in the Dallas Mavericks, JY, in the news because Anthony Davis is injured and is supposed to be traded. The situation looks a little messy, but, I think what's most important is today's news cycle says Anthony Davis is more likely to be traded than not, and that we know will impact the futures market. What are you most focused on in the recent reporting around AD in Dallas?
The simple fact that Shams changed his story a couple of hours later, he just reported it in the last segment. Now, Anthony Davis is not going to have surgery. That's because he's not going to be eligible to come back until after the trade deadline. And if you look at the time frame, is about 4 weeks. Well, we're about 3-4 weeks from the NBA trade deadline as well. So it allows that if the team makes a trade, let them evaluate AD and let them make the determination to try and get him back for the playoffs. This sounds crazy. There's something I feel like, and this sounds crazy, I'm starting to feel like he may end up in New York. There's cryptic things coming out of here. Mitchell Robinson said some really weird things on social media last night. It's starting to turn a little bit. Cats had some rough games as of late. Do the Knicks and a panic move say, we go get Anthony Davis? See, here's the thing people need to realize about Anthony Davis. I want people to understand this. The best type of ability is availability, is dependability. Here's the thing. When AD is healthy, and he is right, Kevin, he is a top 15 player in the world. No one can argue it. So if you get AD, or whichever team gets AD, and you get a top 15, top 20 player in the world, all of a sudden your chances to win an NBA championship grows exponentially, right?
Wow.
What team would do it? I'll tell you right now, and that's going to impact another team, and that's Milwaukee, because they continue to buy themselves time, and I don't know if they got time left. They got a choice to make. I think they got to either go all in right now and try and swing one last home run, or they got to tear it down and trade Giannis. They can't play this in-between game anymore. They also must make a choice. Same thing with Memphis, with Ja Morant. Kevin, the next 3-4 weeks in the NBA are going to be wild. We could see major trades being done left and right.
I think, JY, what is so fascinating is not just the fact that there could be a number of trades, but the amount of stars, right? Ja Morant, Giannis, Anthony Davis. But for me, where this Anthony Davis story does now start to take on a little bit of a different life is, I mean, it falls in line with what you said. AD going to the Knicks versus AD going to Atlanta, those are very different things. Because if Anthony Davis goes to the Knicks, I think what we can be certain of is he will be traded to a team that will be in the playoffs, right? Atlanta's still going to have to scratch and claw to get themselves in the mix. And if all of a sudden New York says, yep, AD's healthy, round one, that's scarier than not, right? Like, that feels like something, JY. So, man, it's interesting that the Knicks stand out to you as the potential landing spot. I can't necessarily say I disagree. Do you think if he's healthy with Anthony Davis, I don't know, I'm assuming that means Cat's gone, JY? Are they a more dangerous basketball team?
I think they are. I think because of the fact that New York has struggled defensively, and when he is right, he is an elite rim protector, and he can do a lot of things. And Kevin, they'll have to move a little bit of more money because I think Cat is 53-1, AD is 54-1. So their money's basically lined up, and they both have 3 years left on their deal. So the Knicks may have to add a little bit more. So they have to make it work. But I think there's something brewing here, possibly with New York, because they look at the East and they have to take the swing now. The East is down, and if you add Anthony Davis healthy and he doesn't have to be the 1A, you can let Brunson be that guy with Bridges and Anunoby, that team becomes extremely scary defensively if he's healthy.
All right, let's get into tonight's NBA slate with the help of Coach James Young, especially Thunder Spurs Part 4. Does OKC need this game, and will they get it? We'll talk about that next.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions. We are back in the mix with you on a Tuesday night. We, of course, have some college hoops live. Virginia opened the game against Louisville on a 14-0 run, snapped by a banked-in three. Louisville will take him any way they can get him. We have eyes on that and the rest of this college basketball slate right now with a couple of dogs leading early. Indiana, BC, A&M, even this Virginia team. We'll keep our eyes on it. Let's get some NBA picks on the board, though, from Coach James Young. JY, I'm not sure if you're involved with this game. We'll get to, I know where some of the games you are, but OKC San Antonio feels important to me tonight. I believe Oklahoma City, if they lose this game again, I don't think it would be out of bounds to move their odds. I don't think it would be out of bounds to shift their title odds, to shift their Western Conference odds, because it's not, just San Antonio has their number. I think it shows OKC can get bullied a little bit. And they, with their defensive tenacity, have been the bullies on the block for, 2 years now. What do you expect from OKC San Antonio?
Fireworks. And you're right, because that's not one, that's not two, that's not three. That'd be 4 wins they'd have over them, Kevin, in the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks. This isn't like they played in October. Like, this started with the NBA Cup and then a back-to-back. And so if they beat them a 4th time, I think, honestly, Kevin, this is what you need to watch. Number one, does Oklahoma City, if they lose, they probably go to even money at that point to win the West. They're not gonna be minus money. They'll be minus 145. They'll have to take the 45 cents off. But the interesting thing is this, Kevin. If they lose, and Wemby bullies Chet, does that make Sam Presti start to panic with his trove of draft picks and young talent? And does he look to make a move now, knowing that the team that's their biggest competitor, we thought was a year away, may be here right now, and is shown to be a kryptonite to the Thunder?
Interesting, because we know OKC has the biggest war chest in basketball. If they opt to make those kind of swings, they're gonna connect, right? They're gonna get something. We know that. All right, JY. So let's figure out what then on this board tonight is calling your name. We'll start with Denver. They're in New Orleans, a slight favorite. We expect Jamal Murray to play in this basketball game, but of course, still no Jokic the story.
Yeah, no Jokic the story, no Cam Johnson as well, but Aaron Gordon has come back, and we know how important Aaron Gordon, he's kind of that Swiss Army knife for them. I'm going to take them on the money line at the Pelicans. They've won 3 out of 4. Pelicans lost 9 out of 10. I still think they're the better team here. So I'm going to take the Nuggets on the money line. And one reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to go with Jamal Murray over 8.5 assists. Kevin, he's had 16 and 17 assists last 2 games. Without Joker, the ball is in his hands. No Valanciunas. So that means when he's in the game, that means that he has to collect the paint. Deron Holmes goes into that starting lineup at times, stretches the floor, more driving lane and kick-out opportunities, space the floor with shooters. Jamal Murray over 8.5 assists today, and you'll find it around even the plus money.
I won't. I like. Have you? I shouldn't do this. Have you at all had conversations about Jamal putting up numbers that look a little similar to the guy he's kind of filling in for, and the games that don't look as bad as everybody thinks they're going to look at all? Is there any 16 assists, 17 assists?
It's about, Kevin, it's funny you say it. It's really about usage, right? They put the ball in his hands. So the way David Alleman has structured his offense is it's now, instead of going through that high post area of Jokic, they run more pick and roll and more ISO ball. And like I said, the key is not just Jokic, it's Valanciunas. So now you can't have someone in the dunker spot, which now creates a lot more of an open, free-wheeling space and more room for him to attack. And then when you collapse, you can get open three. So that's the other thing. If you're going to start playing Jamal Murray in regards to over assists, Aaron Gordon, other guys, for them to make 3-pointers, because look at it, Kevin, who else on Denver can actually create off the bounce ball besides Jamal Murray? The answer is nobody.
All right, JY, what else do we like here on this slate tonight? A few good games to pick from. Give me another one that's standing out to you.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Houston, who struggled a little bit. Jabari Smith over 14.5 points. You're going under 5 in the last 6 games. But no, his 2 backups, Dorian Finney-Smith, Torrey Eason, both not playing. Bulls last in points per game allowed to power forwards. The two biggest ways he scores is their Bulls are bottom half. Jabari Smith over his points prop. Colin Gillespie, you're going to find a shop around, could find that plus money. Over 4.5 assists. This game tips off in about 20 minutes. Over 3 of the last 4 games. And here's the thing. I looked at something up. There's something called rebound chances, which means, folks, you are the closest person to the basketball. Doesn't mean you get the rebound. You're the closest when the ball comes off the rim. Colin Gillespie's had I think it's 8 or 9 or 10 in every game. I just got to get him to get half the rebounds. I'll go over 4.5 assists. I was going to take Miles Turner. He's out. So 2 plays for Minnesota Bucks. Randall over 5.5 assists. No Ant. I know he's under 6 in the last 7. But then no Gobert. Open lane. Bucks bottom 10 assists per game to power forwards. And then for rebounds, Dante DiVincenzo had 9 rebounds last game. He's setting over 5.5. Bucks shoot a ton of threes, and they're bottom 10 to rebounds per game to guards.
JY, the Lakers tonight, without Luka potentially, without LeBron, no Reeves, of course, who would even be responsible for scoring the basketball? Like Marcus Smart?
Hey, it's time for it, Kevin. Rowie.
Lay the jerseys out.
It doesn't matter what Rory thinks he can do. Hawks minus the 3. It was 4. It's moved to 3. Hawks 3-0 against the spread. Lakers on a back-to-back. We probably talked about those two not playing. I will go with the Hawks minus 3, or if you get about 150, 155, take them on the money line tonight.
The Coach James Young, great as always. Make sure you are checking out both pro and college basketball today right here on SportsGrid. JY has been crushing it. We're going to take a quick break. A big move in the coaching market. We'll explain next.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, quick check-in on the college hoops board, and then we're going to talk some coaching stuff. Right now in the ranked games, all of the dogs early leads: A&M, Boston College, Virginia, and Indiana. Now, all of them could still lose. I actually think all of them outside of Virginia are still booked as in-game dogs, but it means we could have a wild night. Could be upsets brewing here on this college basketball board, so we are going to absolutely continue to follow that here on a Tuesday night. Let's take a look at the most recent Kalshi markets for head coaches. We have gone through a number of these. But what I have wondered is, when would we get our first big move that, hey, all signals sign, all signs point to this is where we're headed, and it's John Harbaugh to the New York Giants at 54%. The expectation is John Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the New York Giants. And I think that is important for a number of reasons. One of the simpler ones is I believe Harbaugh's domino one. I think teams like Atlanta, Tennessee will not make a move until they know Harbaugh is off the board. And that just means you're going to be waiting a little bit to get this head coach cycle really rolling, right? Get the ball downhill as far as the rest of these 9 jobs being filled. I would love a market, first team to hire a head coach, New York Giants, because they're ready to hire John Harbaugh right now. We know that. That's been reported, I think, within the first few hours of Harbaugh being let go by the Baltimore Ravens, is that the Giants were going to be heavily interested, and they've shown that interest. I do think you could, I think you reasonably could say 54% is actually not that strong. It's relatively strong, but it's still almost a coin flip. And I think that is interesting that this is not 75% right now. It shows it's not a done deal, but it is certainly pointing in that direction. And what's going to be very interesting is if Harbaugh lands with New York, it's going to be a Giants team who won't be approaching this offseason with patience. This is going to be a team whose expectations in year one for Harbaugh, not that if they don't meet them, it'll be all blame would fall on him, but this is a team who's going to aggressively chase the postseason. And that is significant. If Harbaugh and the Giants push all in, what will the NFC East markets look like? Because for a few years now, it feels like the Giants have kind of been seen as the basement of the division. Well, the Eagles, despite some silly decisions, are going to very likely be put at the top. We've already talked on the show today about the likelihood of the Dallas Cowboys strengthening their defense through the draft. And people are going to be interested in betting Dak. I think that is a certainty, and just the Cowboys as a whole. And then you have the, oh, by the way, Washington Commanders, a team that was in a conference championship game a season ago, and a team who had a quarterback entering in the year was unanimous top 10, consensus top 6. So it's going to make for this really tight race in the NFC East. And what's going to, look, it's going to bring some teams that obviously meet your expectations. There's going to be some disappointed folk. But there also could be value, right? You could run into this situation, no minus money anywhere. That's on the board, right? I think right now in this moment, would you think Philly is a minus money favorite in the NFC East? In this moment, I say no. You also might end up, though, with one of the all-time great predictions. It happened like a month and a half ago. Look, sometimes when you work with someone for a while, they get to know your tendencies. And this Yarnell looked at me and said, you can't wait to bet the Commanders win the Super Bowl next year. And gosh dang it, he might be right. At least he threw me Jaden Daniels the other day. He said, you know what? I don't want this car anymore. You take it off the lot. I'm looking at it, and it just needs a car wash. These Commanders firing Kingsbury? I don't know. If they draft Jeremiah Love, all bets are off, baby.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions with you. And we are now joined by Brady Cannon, and it is excellent as always to talk to Brady. But we've got a little more on the plate tonight as the PGA Tour will be getting back underway this week. So we will get to the golf, Brady, in just a little bit. But I want to start in the NFL, wildcard weekend in the books. Before we get into the divisional round lines, did anything resonate with you from the wild card round? Lesson learned, a result, anything?
Well, you know, it was refreshing for Patriots fans to see that defense show up again. You know, that defense took about the last month of the season off a little bit, you know, and that was part of my handicap as to why the Chargers might have success being able to run the ball. Marion Hampton turned out, you know, was not even worthwhile to be playing in that game. And then the defense showed up in all facets. That was a great defensive game on both sides, and the Chargers offense just could not get anything going at all. The Steelers, you know, I think they are kind of what we thought they were. The Texans offense was really pathetic at times. I mean, the defense won them that game, which is not surprising, but boy, CJ Stroud looked panicked and looked like the moment was too big for him. The Bills and the Jaguars was great as expected. The Niners and the Eagles, I think, was an excellent game, pretty much as expected. You know, not necessarily the team that won, but I think it kind of went according to script. And gosh, I can't remember the Rams. You know, it started out looking like they were just going to roll Carolina, and then Carolina kind of hung tough, and that was impressive. The Bears and the Packers are just the crazy old Bears and Packers. I mean, you know, every game they had this year was wild. And I guess nothing really enlightening except for maybe the Patriots. Like, okay, because when their defense plays like that, they're a really tough out.
For me, Brady, as someone who all week was going to bet Carolina and ended up betting the under, and then was all week going to bet Green Bay, but the line moved so much, I did not. At halftime of Packers-Bears, I said, okay, here's the lesson. Stop with all the props and nonsense and just bet sides. And then the Packers blew that game, and I'm like, never mind. Everything can bring pain. It doesn't matter. I promise. Sides, totals, props, everything can punch you right in the face. But I do think that to some degree with the postseason, when we get these full Sunday slates, right, we can be selective. And you always want to be selective. But I do think you run into some situations where it's like, hey, the number's the number. And just trust who you trust, right? There was only one instance of a team covering but not winning, and they were required to catch 10.5 points in the game. And I wonder if that carries into this week, right? There's only one line that's going to be more than 4 points here. I want to start, though, with the line that's starting to move already, Brady, which is Denver and Buffalo. Well, actually, can I ask you this, Brady? Sorry to interrupt myself, my own question, but every single major move, it felt like last week, lost. Packers flipped the favorites. Jags flipped the favorites. Eagles closed 6 after being 3.5.
Right.
Did you talk to anybody or just yourself? I don't know, any reaction to the moves not coming in?
I imagine the books were happy.
I'm sure.
I was surprised. I wasn't, I almost bet the 49ers last week at plus 4.5. And I was kind of glad I didn't because, it got all the way to 6. And that's at the point where I started going, this feels like too many, but I never got home there. I played the under in that game and that cashed. I really liked the Bills and the Jaguars game. And, here we are with the Bills again. And I know you touched on this line moving, Denver and Buffalo. And it's very similar to what we saw last week where we had 1.5 point favorites, right? And it doesn't take a whole lot to flip a 1 or 1.5 point favorite to the other side of the fence. When it starts to get to 2.5 and 3, that's when it becomes serious. But, I think this is just kind of early week opinions going back and forth a little bit. And I absolutely understand why there would be some activity on Denver. You've got the number 1 seed here as a home underdog. That hasn't happened in a long time. And Buffalo, just continues to sustain injury after injury. And Josh Allen is more and more banged up. So I think it's becoming more and more difficult to make a case for the Buffalo Bills. But what I really liked, and I was successful in both of those games last week where we saw this, 1 point spread flipping to either side, was playing the teaser on whoever the dog was. And when I got it early in the week, the Green Bay Packers were a 1.5 point underdog. I teased them up to plus 7.5. And the other one was the Buffalo Bills early in the week, who were a 1.5 point, or later in the week, whenever it was. There was a lot of changes. I can't remember, it was the Jaguars. The Jaguars were the 1.5 point dog earlier in the week. And I played them up to plus 7.5. So Jaguars plus 7.5, Packers plus 7.5. It worked out. We cashed that ticket. And I think that's where I would go with the Denver Broncos. And there are some books out there where they are still a 1.5 point dog. And the point is, if you prefer Buffalo, take them up to a 1.5 point dog, So I think in these tight line games where you're seeing that favorite flip back and forth, the easy answer is just take the dog and tease them up to plus 7.5.
It's not a bad idea, though, right? Especially because you expect these lines to be better in the postseason, right? So things are going to stay close. So Denver, Buffalo. The line's already working back towards Denver here, Brady. What are you looking at, and what did you make this number with the 1 versus 6?
My numbers, when I crunch the stats, come out to Denver -3. And I may end up landing on this side. And I think it's very difficult to go against Josh Allen. But like I said earlier, more injuries to the wide receivers. Who are his weapons? He's got Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Keon Coleman, and Shakir. I mean, that's some pretty healthy weaponry, but I feel like the Denver defense can shut that down. And there's no more options really after that. I know you obviously have James Cook, and you can throw to him out of the backfield as well. Obviously, he's a tremendous rusher of the football. Denver, the number one rushing offense in the NFL, or Buffalo, I should say. But guess who they're going up against? The number one rushing defense in the NFL, in the Denver Broncos. So I'm kind of leaning towards the defensive team here. Now, obviously, I worry about that offense for the Denver Broncos, the rust versus rest factor. But I tell you another thing here, the Buffalo Bills don't often go to Denver to play in the Mile High City. And we saw what happened to the Green Bay Packers, another team that doesn't often go to Denver. And they came in there, sandwiched in between a couple of Chicago Bears contests, and they lost outright. So, this is a new element for these teams. We talk about home field advantage a lot and how much it's worth. It's absolutely worth something in Denver. And these teams that are not really familiar with that. Now, the one thing on their side, Josh Allen played, for a lot of games in Wyoming, which is not a whole lot different at all, if not even higher in elevation and windier and all that, more elements really than there is there in Denver. So he's got that working for him. But the rest of the bunch is not really used to this stuff. And I think that's another, check mark on the Denver Broncos side.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to just see how Denver offensively looks to attack Buffalo. The Buffalo defense was really let off the hook. I think you could pretty easily argue by Jacksonville. The Bashal Tutin, 3 straight carries, all for 10-plus yards, finishing the game with 4 carries is really hard to imagine. And it's also hard to imagine Sean Payton doesn't see that and look to run it. But of course, the cat and mouse game is, does Buffalo sell out to stop the run? And, those in-game adjustments can always make the difference here. Want to ask Brady about a couple more of these divisional round games and get some early thoughts here as golf is about to be fully back this Thursday. It's next on Game Time Decisions.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not going to happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, game time decisions. Kevin Walsh joined by Brady Cannon. We're talking through the divisional round opening numbers here. Some movement within the market already. And depending on where you look, Brady, Seattle-San Francisco is either a 7 or a 7.5 point spread. Looks like this may settle in without the hook primarily. What are you making this number here in an NFC West divisional round matchup?
Well, we talked about teasing the underdog in the Buffalo-Denver game in the last segment, and I think the Seattle Seahawks are a pretty good dance partner, taking that 7.5 down to 1.5 or what have you. And I have already done that. My number comes exactly to 7.5, and I'm kind of surprised it didn't come higher. I thought I might come out with 8 or more. I do think Seattle gets it done here, and I really don't necessarily mind laying the big number. I think the magical season for Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers comes to an end on Saturday, and I'm not sure if they stay inside the number. I think the situation benefits them, having just played Seattle a few weeks ago and losing at home. I think that creates some edge for San Francisco, and maybe this line is inflated a little bit more than it should be. The rest versus rust issue for these two number one seeds, is that a factor? Sam Darnold, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I think Seattle wins the football game, and that's why I really like the teaser. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if they kind of blew them out and won by double digits.
I think it's going to be interesting, again, to just see how this settles. With the 7 or 7.5 point spread here, could this bump up to an 8?
Let me tell you something.
I think it's on the board.
Yeah, the longer that 7.5 hangs around, the more likely it is to go to 8. Okay, because if the 7.5 is sitting out there for a minute, and the wise guys like the dog, then it's not going to last too long. But if it sits there for a while as we get deeper into the week, then it's probably going to go the other direction, probably going to go up to 8. And I kind of think it will. This San Francisco cannot, in my opinion, continue to do it with very few healthy bodies. Now you have a very familiar opponent that knows exactly what they can't pull any tricks on Seattle like maybe they did against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think it's a really tough go for San Francisco. They've been kind of screwed by the league as well. What is this, their third straight short week? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that the Rams and the Bears play on Saturday and they get a Sunday and the Niners have to go on Saturday. I don't know, but I think that plays into the handicap a little bit as well. So yeah, I like Seattle here. I love them, teased down. Wouldn't be surprised if they won by margin.
I don't want to harp on it, but that last thing is so infuriating. And it's not because I have Niners futures. I've largely detached from them due to their health. Listen, I know they like doing wonky playoff schedules, and I know not everything can be fair. But when you had two teams that played on a Saturday meeting in round 2 to have them both play on a Sunday, and to make a team that played on a Sunday play a team off a bye on a Saturday, that's egregious. It's egregious. It's lackadaisical. It's embarrassing. It's all of the above. It really.
I agree with you.
It really
I have
is.
no idea. And I know it probably comes down to money and TV ratings. It's BS.
I couldn't agree more. Brady, before we let you go, and I appreciate it as always, the Sony Open Thursday.
Golf is back, baby.
Can you believe
Let's
it?
go.
What are you looking for here in this tournament?
Oh, the sunshine and the beautiful Hawaiian vistas on TV. We got shorted on Kapalua this year, but hey, we'll have to make do with the Sony Open. I'm really looking forward to it. I typically use these first 3 weeks to kind of get warmed up, and then when we hit Torrey Pines, when Mr. Brooks Koepka will be back in the mix, that's when I really start to dive in head first into the golf. Just played a few outrights this week. This course has very sticky history, meaning it's very predictable. A lot of the same guys that play well here continue to do so year after year. And one of those guys is Chris Kirk. I got Chris Kirk at 48-1. He's been runner-up here a couple times. a number of finishes here. Played him, the old veteran, finished last year on a real good hot streak. Ben Griffin, who won 3 times last year, including at Colonial, where you see a ton of crossover success between Colonial and the Sony Open. Played him at 18-1. I mean, that was a career year. You know, that was his coming out party last year for Ben Griffin. Played on the Ryder Cup team. I think it carries over into 2026. And then played Maverick McNeely. This is an interesting angle here, Kevin. He's done very well at this course in the past. He won at Sea Island, which is another coastal, wind-swept type venue, shorter golf course, very similar to what we have here in Honolulu. And something that is a really interesting phenomenon in the world of golf is what they call the nappy factor. And we saw it happen with Danny Willett when he won the Masters, and there's been a number of other cases as well. But a lot of times these guys really play well and win golf tournaments not long after they have fathered their first child. And that is what has happened to Maverick McNeely. He just recently had a baby. His wife did, of course, a couple months ago. And it gives them like a new sense of calm and happiness, and also a renewed focus that we have to provide now for a family. And it's this weird little thing, but it does translate into success. And, he checks all the other boxes, of course, as well. But the nappy factor is a little bit of a bonus there for McNeely. Played him at 30-1. And then finally, my long shot, a guy that's been playing well and does really well on, again, these types of courses, short, coastal, Bermuda grass, windswept stuff. And that Seamus Power, played him at 110-1. So see if we can start off the year with another winner. Last year, we started off the year with Hideki Matsuyama at the Sentry. They canceled that because of drought-like conditions in Maui. We shift over here to the Sony. We'll see if we can get off to another good start again in 2026.
Really excited to watch it play out. Always great, Brady, to be able to talk to you throughout these golf seasons. And
I want to know when we're going to be expecting like a really good episode of Game Time Decisions from you, because you're experiencing the nappy factor.
What I want to know, Brady, is when is Brooks Koepka going to be like all the way back? Like, when are we going to get Brooks Koepka at 12-1? Is that ever going to happen again inside one of these PGA tournaments?
He's going to get bet like crazy at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, it's on the way.
And I'm stoked. I'm thrilled to have him back, man. Hopefully John Rahm is next.
All right, Brady, great as always. We'll get best bets on the way out.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Nanji, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
OK Dubs has to go back to his roots. I'm not a Jets fan, I'm not a Giants fan, and neither one of those teams even play in New York. But I'm a New Yorker through and through, despite where my mail gets sent. And I will not stand for the Jets to be dragged through the mud in this way. Not gonna happen. So Dante Moore, if you do leave, you should be so lucky to fly the plane.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Steelers get their touchdown, and they miss the extra point. It was Lamar Jackson who made the plays to get the Ravens into what should have been easy field goal territory. So explain to me how in the world we can look at last night's game as, well, there you go, can't trust Lamar Jackson.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's update your live board here. College hoops opening portion of the night. A lot of these hitting at the half. Louisville trailing Virginia by 5. This is certainly trending towards the under. Not what we were looking for at a live number of 141.5. Hard to see us getting there without overtime. It is what it is. It's one of those nights where volume is there, but a slow Louisville start and just bad three-point shooting overall has put us up against it. In this basketball game. Much better start with some of these dogs. A&M up 4 at the break on Tennessee. They are live for an upset there. Boston College lost a little bit of the rope in that game, but primarily due to Nick Davidson off the Clemson bench being 7 of 9 from the field with 21 of their 37 first half points. BC, though, down 10, just needs to keep it within 5 in the second half, and we're good to go, so I'm fine with that. And then your other ACC game that we're involved with is tied at the break, 39 apiece between Notre Dame and Miami. You would love a halftime lead if you were backing the Irish, and you're going to get 39 points. That's very good for their offense. But it's a spot right now where they've turned it over double their opponent. Clean that up. Notre Dame is live for a win, maybe even a cover. From a best bet perspective, you do have a couple of them live right now, including Minnesota's bet or AJ's bet on Minnesota at even money. They lead Wisconsin by 7 at half. Michigan State in the Big Ten up 41-32 at the break. Caps, if you liked it at 3.5, you love it after a scoreless opening period. Hey now, that's all right. We're just getting loose. Lightning, Penguins, scoreless through 1. All right, fellas. Hey. All right. Huh? What a night on the ice from the team. All right. Hey. Hey. Yeah. Rooting it in. That's me. Rooting it in. Got my cap. All right, guys. Yeah. Okay. Here we go with that hockey. What do you like tonight? What's that? You like the Isles? All right. You know what I mean? Some of those. In the NBA, just one game live right now. Later starting slate. Heat up on Phoenix. Norman Powell makes the start. Remember Jalen Green? That was something I found in my notes today. Just going through it. Remember Jalen Green, who Phoenix acquired? He's played 2 games. You think Jalen Green comes back and is good for Phoenix? That doesn't feel on the board, does it? Just saying. Doesn't feel super on the board. NBA-wise, we're focused in on Oklahoma City and San Antonio, part 4. San Antonio right now, 3-0. They are up on OKC in season. I'm laying 8.5 for the Thunder to get right here. This was double digits on Christmas. It was double digits on a neutral in the Cup game. Yes, San Antonio deserves to have their power rating adjusted here a little bit, but I think this is a spot for OKC to get one of their patented blowout victories. I think they are defensively going to be on it, and they will be keeping San Antonio under $110, and offensively, perhaps they light it up. Maybe this game, final score, 126-102. Remember that? How about that? Under the number. OKC, do they offer final scores in the NBA? They definitely do. I really should just alt -20. What is 20 and -20.5 on OKC pay tonight? 3-1. Ugh. Where's the correct score? Let's find it. They're hiding it from me. Probably better off finding it on DraftKings. People said, you know what, Kev? Moving forward, at the end of the show, can you just look for a correct score NBA bet to close it out? They said, I think that would be the most entertaining thing you could possibly do. I said, guys, I agree. Game props, maybe? Race to 15. Where's this correct score? Come on. Can't find it. Largest lead. How about this? 26 or more plus 230. All right. You know what? Maybe there's something there. Probably not, though, right? Probably not. Now, before we get out of here, a reminder that on this Tuesday, we did bring to you another edition of Kevin 7 with 7 early NFL draft predictions. And some of these feel straightforward, and they should, because things like Fernando Mendoza should not be overthought. Things like Jeremiah Love going inside the top 10 should not be overthought. Rams got a real opportunity for themselves, though, to draft a quarterback in round 1 and set up a succession plan post Matt Stafford. Little NFC East love today in the predictions. Giants taking a wide receiver at 5? That'd be bad. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. In-Game Live is next, right here on SportsGrid.